Hello everybody and welcome back to So Many Games Little Time. My name is Joachim and today we're going to continue the top 52 of Kickstarter games that I've received over the years. Like I said before, other Kickstarters have arrived since then, so it's not 100% up to date, but I'll update these as we go along next year and so on, so on, so on. So today we're going from 16 to 11, right? So let's just get right to it. Number 16 is Set a Watch, Swords of the Coin. Now you can see here, Set a Watch, Swords of the Coin. It is of course the second one in the series. The first one was Set a Watch, and Swords of the Coin I actually think is better. First of all, it adds, introduces new champions, or I don't know what they call them, not warriors, but heroes. I'm sure we'll see what they call it specifically. Adventurer, there you go. They introduce more adventurers, different kinds of creatures, of course. Everything is different. I mean, it's more of the same, but they just introduce more stuff. But I should also, of course, tell you what Set a Watch is. Set a Watch is a very simple game, or at least the idea behind it is very simple, and that is you are having this campfire. One person is staying behind at the campfire and the other three are going out to fight. Now you can perfectly play the solo with all four of them. Every character has these abilities that you see here on the right side. Some of them you will start with, others will be on the side. You can learn these later on, swap them out and so on. But what you do every round in Set a Watch is you will fight a certain amount of characters that appear, creatures and so on that appear. And if you defeat all of them, perfect, go on to the next round and so on. But if they manage to get through, however, the final round will become more and more difficult. Also, of course, you can take damage, so you have to make sure that you survive until the end. So what are some things that I can show you aside from that? Here is the board, and the board actually, it's cool because it all is attached to the board game box. You just open it, magnetized, and then it is part of the whole game, right? So for example, now you see these coins. Those are new for Swords of Coin. When you go to these locations, you will get a coin, sometimes more, because if you haven't used that location after a round, another coin will be added, so it becomes more interesting, right? And then you can use those coins to buy all these kind of equipment and so on, and then assign it to one of your adventurers to make them stronger. Of course, here the top one are the locations, because every time you fight these creatures, you're in a certain location that which could have benefits or advantages or disadvantages. Here you have check map, so you'll be able to choose which one where you're going to. Equip means that you can swap out abilities of a hero. Heal means, of course, you want to heal up. Scout ahead means that you can see some of the monsters already, if I'm not mistaken. Top of the deck and all that kind of stuff, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. And chop firewood means that you keep the fire burning, because the fire burning is very, very important. Because when it's at 1, you can see 1 enemy. If it's at 7, you can see 2 enemies face up. At 12, you can see 3 enemies face up, which helps a lot in fighting them. Because fighting them is important, duh, but I'll get to that later. The merchants here, you can see some of these items that they're selling. That can also be a huge difference maker. You have the Outriders expansion, which can be very difficult. I have a bunch of videos on the channel all about this. Also, so I was talking about how fighting is important, because your adventurers, they're either melee or ranged. So if they're melee, they can only attack the first monster in the whole row, right? So melee can attack the second position, but you have to fight these first and have the other ones come to the front. Of course, there are abilities that you have that will mitigate that, or have you swap out monsters from the back or send them to the back of the line and stuff like that. Really cool game. There's a bunch of videos on the channel of both Set a Watch and also Set a Watch, Swords of the Coin. Once again, I like Swords of the Coin more because of the merchant. The fact that you can gather money and then buy. But when you have both sets, you can mix and match. Also, there's a third one coming that will collect all the stuff and put it in one nice bigger box. And you can also once again mix and match everything, and I'm looking forward to that a lot. So let me go to BG real quick just to show you a picture of what the actual setup is looks like. For example, I think this one will do. Here you go. This person's adventurers are here. As you can see, the box is attached to well, it's not attached, it just works there. This is an enemy he was fighting. I'm sure this is just at the end. So yeah, and here are the monsters as well, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on always, which makes it very, very cool. Also, just the fact that when you start the game, the abilities of your heroes are randomized. So that always adds a ton of variability. So this is another good example. You have the box here. You have so the game board in its whole. You have the different adventurers also have different types of dice. Some only have d6s like the monk, but he can actually learn and then get other types of dice to use. The hunter, the artificer, the barbarian. So this is the row of monsters that they imagine they defeated or whatever. So yeah, that's what it looks like real quick, like. Okay, so that was Set a Watch. Let's move on to number 14, right? Okay, so this is Exodus Rise of the Corruption, number 14. I immediately was interested in this because it says here, Brussels, Belgium, and you know, you have to represent your country, right? So I was already interested, but then the game turned out to be really cool as well. You can see this setup here. You have basically 4 ships that you're going to be playing with. Of course, you're going to go lower with 3 or 2. True solo, I wouldn't recommend. But basically, you're stopping the rise of the corruption, right? Which is this board here. The corruption is rising. You can see the little red cube. It's going to go up. If it reaches all the way, you die. You lose. The whole universe is overrun by the corruption. On the side, you have these cards. Those are keys, and that's what you're looking for. So you're going to be flying around with your ships. You can keep them together. You can spread them out depending on what you want. And you're going to be finding these keys. And these keys, if you found all of them, then you can go back, find the portal and basically close it and then save the galaxy, right? So, but every time you find a key, more dangerous enemies will arrive, all right? So it becomes more and more difficult as the game goes on. I'm trying to look for more pictures of the actual board game. So you can see here the different ships actually. You have the warriors here. Battlecruiser and warship, they both play completely differently. At the top here, you have the amount of energy you have to spend on your skills, which will be on the top and the bottom. Here at the bottom, you have upgrades that you have as well, XP. So these just jumped away. They also have different dice that they roll, the power die, precision die, skill die that they roll during their battles, right? There are different types of health, which will be on the top as well, but you don't see it here. Actions as well, 3 actions. Some have more actions. You have the scholars, the drone specialist, and the protoship. Protoship is cool because it's very experimental, has a lot of different abilities, so you can go a lot of different ways. Because every time you level up, you choose, well, you have a skill and you choose one of 2 sides. So you can cater, you can kind of specialize. Drone specialist, which of course is very good at repairing and exploring, scouting. The rogue, here these two have, both of them have 4 actions. The pirate ship and the explorer. Of course, the pirate ship leans more to battle, while the explorer is more leads to exploring. So yeah, all of that there. I don't think there's going to be pictures of the board as well, right? I don't think so. So I think it's time for us to once again go to BGG. Okay, so here we have BGG. So let me see if I can get a good view on this. For example, the overview on this picture. You can see the ships here at the bottom and the top. These little, I would say crosses, but not really. They are health. So if it's white, you still have it. If it's red, you're actually, there's just damage that you've already had. The yellow things here are money, so you can get credits. But you can also find merchants as you're going around, stores, where you can then buy and upgrade skills. Like I said, the cards at the top and bottom are skills that you've already developed, experience. This map is not set in stone. As to say, you start in one tile and then you just spread out. So the map can also sprawl in different directions. You have this here, this is the enemy they're fighting at the moment. So they have this special kind of card holder. You put it in. Here you have the different cards, because you can also go and explore in certain areas, and exploration can help you find, well, you need to explore to find the keys. They can also give you a bunch of benefits. It can slow down the corruption if you are unlucky. It can speed up if you fail. So there's a bunch of stuff. You can see here red cards here as well. Those red cards is when you do battle and you lose certain ways, you might get extra damage or whatever, like an injury if you're a person, right? Critical damage, but then you can heal it and repair it later on. On your turn, you have a bunch of actions you can do. Move, explore, battle, repair, form a fleet, so you can actually all of you can be together. But of course, you have a ship with 4 movement and a ship with 3 movement, and you're together. Of course, you only do 3 moves, right? But then it allows you to have a battle with 1 ship. Then your fleet will be bigger and easier to win. So you can see here, the top ones are also always skills that require energy. That's why you have the energy here. And the bottom ones are always passives, okay? So it says here, recover all your energy. Yeah, so that's the warship then. Anything else? It's just a box. So let's see if I can find some other images that I can show you to talk about. For example, this is an ally card. So this is you find these through exploration, right? So then you can choose what you want to do. It also depends which ship does the exploration, because sometimes, oh, are you this ship? You can do something extra. So that's also cool. Yeah, so I don't think there's much more to say. Once again, there are videos on the channel that I've played. Really enjoyed this game, and that's why it's so high as well, of course. And you've also got matte, that makes it look even nicer. All right, okay, that's Exodus. So number 13 is Beyond the Horizon. It's not Beyond the Horizon, it's wrong. They just changed the Kickstarter page to have a little ad for the next campaign. It's Waste Night 2nd edition, right? So I only backed for $1, as you can see. In the end, I did go all in, basically, in this campaign, and then completely forgot about it. And then it arrived, and I was like, oh, all right, yeah. And then I played it, and I really enjoyed it. So this is basically Fallout, right? There's been a nuclear wasteland and so on. You are a waste knight, and then you're going to go across the land, and you have these storylines that you're following. It's kind of like on rails, though, but you do the storyline, you try to complete it. There's different sets in the story, it's different steps in the story, different areas where you have to go, you fight, you have to get resources, have to make choices in the story, which can also have a huge impact on whatever it is that you're doing. Like here you have the knights, for example. They're all quite different in play as well, but I think it's better to just see their sheets, as you can see here. The left one is experience. They also have hands and armor. That means where you can have your weapon and potential protection. The difference is here in their skills. For example, Johnny Taylor is a trailblazer. So the dice that he's rolling have to do with all these. Like Blades, 2 white, 1 survival, 2 green. But then Logan Harris, who's an Avenger, has white and green with Blades, but 2 whites for survival. So if I'm not mistaken, green is better. So and then also, even with the skills here, it's harder to read, but they're also different. And then what is cool, what I really like about this game, is they all have their own vehicle. So you're going around with your vehicle, because it really adds to the story, getting around as fast as possible, or be able protecting yourself, right? Because if you have a heavier, more robust vehicle, then it's also easier to veer away from the regular roads, right? You can just go out in the wilderness, it'll be easier. While maybe for a motorcycle, it might be different. You can see here gasoline and so on, that all changes as well. How many types of gear you can carry around, how fast you go. Yeah, so you can see here the Book of Tales, Adventure Guide, rule book, all that kind of stuff, sweet stuff. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. The art is also cool. You can see the minis are really nice. I should paint them, but of course I haven't painted them yet. There's way too much to paint, and every time I think I'm going to paint, I don't. So can I show you some more pictures of it actually in action? Because that's what I always miss about these Kickstarters. Of course, you could argue often they're still in production, you know, or they're still designing some of the stuff, so they don't want to show it exactly. So let's go to BGG. Okay, so here we are at BGG at the image section as usual, looking for a nice picture that we can use. For example, this is then your player board, all right? So you can of course see the knights here and who this is, but you also have the different weapons that you can find as you're exploring the wilderness. You can also sell it. They also might have wear and tear, so they might break. There's also that. This is a game in play in SM. So you can see everybody has their own vehicle, their cards, their resources on their page. They're all moving around, because the cool part is if you're playing with more people, you can actually say, okay, we need to find this or do that. Let's split up. But you can also stay together and help each other in a fight. You can do that as well. You have these cards as well. You can hear on the side, right? It depends. If you're on a road, you're going to be drawing from this. If you're in the wilderness, you might be drawing from somewhere else. If you are trying to scavenge, then it also depends on which kind of square you are. So you're going to take a look at one of these cards. You can see it here, and it's divided into 3 areas. So wherever you are, that's going to happen. So it might damage your vehicle, but you might find some necessary ammo and stuff like that, because ammo is difficult to get. Okay, so but yeah, it is also very rewarding if you can use it. But mostly the stories are also what I like. They were not your average stories, the ones that I have played anyway. So let's see, I think I saw one here. This is where you have to fight this guy, potentially, depending on how the story goes, right? So this is kind of the book as well. It'll always have certain changes to the rules as you're fighting, and also depending on what you have to do, where you have to be. Also, things that happened in the beginning of the story might have an effect on the final battle. So things you did or didn't do could have an effect. Yeah, so there's a bunch of choices you have to make that are quite impactful, that will make you think, okay, if I play it again, I would definitely not do that anymore. This is a picture of a regular enemy that you could actually encounter. You can see the health here 3 and the dice that they roll, so they will damage you. And also stuff here that might happen, rewards that you might get as well from defeating this enemy, right? So yeah, I really like this one. There was just recently there was another Kickstarter with an expansion that adds an island that you can travel to with a bunch of new adventures. The minis look cool. I already mentioned that as well. I think I have several videos of Waste Knights as well, maybe just unboxing. I'm unsure, but you can check it in the comments or in the description. You can check that there. Is there anything else that I want to show that I think, okay, this is worth enlarging, that I could say something about? Not really immediately, to be honest. Okay, this is just a nice picture of the whole setup of someone's character. So you can see it again, Johnny Taylor again, 2 weapons, trash armor, and then the off-road with the gasoline and everything. Also, you have to spend movement points and so on. So yeah, typical stuff, but really, really nice adventure game. So that was Waste Knights. So let's continue with number 12, and that one is Merchant's Cove. Now for Merchant's Cove, you'll see there's no pledge here, because this one I actually bought through Base, which is the store that I use my giveaways with as well. He had the pledge there because I changed my mind. I wasn't going to do it, and then I did do it, and in the end I did do it. So I'm actually really happy. Otherwise it wouldn't be on number 12, of course. So this game, what happens here, basically you have your own store. You see 4 different stores here. There's actually more than 4, but you have your own store or your own occupation. And in the end, everybody's trying to create certain type of goods that you sell to these customers who arrive in the ships, in the boats, right? When they arrive, you can sell your goods to them and hopefully get a ton of points. So the biggest knock on this game, were people saying that it could have been so much more. Like it should have been more complicated. Everybody is basically in the end doing the same thing, which is true. You're all just making green, red, blue, yellow goods to sell to those people. But every little store, every little occupation is a mini game, which some of them I really enjoy. Some are like, but I think they're cool in general. So before I go into the mini games, you have your main board here. These people will be arriving in the ships, and you can manipulate that. You can choose which ships dock where, because then you can see here you sell large goods, here you sell small goods, here you sell large goods and small goods, but it might give you corruption, I think, and then you might go here. Yeah, I think something like that. It's been a while as well, but you can actually manipulate. So okay, we're gonna sell a lot of large goods, a lot of yellow ones. I'm gonna get this boat here, so I can sell 2 for sure, right? So then here you have townsfolk that you can hire that will give you extra abilities and also points at the end of the game. Here you have the different clans, the different houses, basically, not clans, but a different type of customers there are. So once again, if you have certain people here who, when they land, they will go to their houses. And then at the end of the game, depending on the icons you have, you will score for that as well. And here you have a card that is there every game. I was going to say elk spill, but that's Dutch. So that's here every game. And that will also affect the whole gameplay. More likely the gray ones, which are basically the thieves and the bad guys, basically, which also will have an effect. The main draw to this game, aside from the mini games, is the way this game works, and that is the time here. Every action you do costs time. So for example, if I do a major action that costs 3 time, which I think is not even possible, I think 2 is the most, and you did something that was free, for example, and I'm 3 spots ahead of you, or let's say 2 spots ahead of you, then it's your turn for as long as you haven't passed me in time. So you can then have multiple turns in a row as long as you don't pass me on the clock, right? So that can actually happen. You can do a turn and then wait a while before it's your turn, or it can be your turn. You can do multiple things because you're suddenly doing a lot of cheap actions, right? So that the timing issue is really good, because here you can see there's 2 kinks in the road. You can actually slow down the time, but then also I think you get corruption, if I'm not mistaken. So here you have some of the mini games, and what is also cool, they all have their little tables. These just look like regular tables. The final version had their own specific tailored to their own type tables, which was really awesome. So you have the blacksmith, very straightforward, placing the die to be able to smith, these items and so on, and then you have to sometimes make sure you let the heat go. Here you have the alchemist, which is a little bit like those typical games where you try to make sure you get as many marbles at the same time, the different color. You put them in all the different cauldrons, so to brew potions and sell them. This is the pirate. He has a bunch of ships. It's hard to see them, but you'll be sending them out, trying to collect treasure, bringing them back, and the treasure is actually the or fish is actually the stuff you will sell, right? So you're going to be sending them out. Here you have like it's not a time traveler, I forgot what his name is, Technomancer or whatever, but you're constantly going like through portals to get stuff and so on. And then you have some extra bonus ones that were in the pledge stretch goals. These ships are all different in the final version, the deluxe version anyway. So yeah, I think I've spoken mostly about it already. You have the alchemist here, blacksmith, talked about all these. Anybody exclusive. The secret stash is actually a secret thief faction that you can play, but I still haven't played it because you have to download stuff for it, and I was too lazy. So was there anything else here? The oracle is also cool because it's basically a roll and write, the oracle. You throw the bones and everything in the box, and then you have to decide where you spend it and what you create. You also have the Dragon Rancher, which you don't really see much about here, but the Dragon Rancher is basically you're raising dragons, and they poop all over the place and everything. And when the dragons are old enough or tall enough, you sell them off, right? So Mr. Nasty here is an innkeeper. So you're basically feeding the the adventurers or clients, putting them in beds and so on. And you can see in beds, they'll give you certain scores as well. It gives you points and so on. And then this is the oracle, right? The one that I was talking about. So I think I called it differently before, but anyway, the oracle. So all that is in there. There's so much stuff. And I just like all the mini games. It's so much fun. It's colorful. Okay, it could have been a lot deeper and more strategical and more crunchy and more Euro. But honestly, I don't really care. I like it. It's colorful. It's cool. There's a video online as well to check out if you want to. And I really need to play this solo as well. Lots of fun. All right, number 11. And number 11, people might not appreciate that, some of them. So number 11 is Dungeonology. So I didn't even do this. Actually, I can do this. Right? Because even though I really like the game, they were so late. Oh my God. And the communication was really bad. But this is not what this top 52 or top 50 whatever is about. It's about the game, the gameplay, how much I like all the games, not the stuff around it. You can say, yeah, but what about Yidu? Because with Yidu you said, yeah, okay, but the fact that there's misprints, it affects the gameplay, so that's why. But anyway, with Dungeonology, it's different because the stuff I did get, and in the end I did get everything, I really enjoy. I like the colors, I like the gameplay, especially solo, because I don't have to worry about other people blocking me. I like the whole idea about it. Even though it can be very mean, I still enjoy it. I still enjoy going around, getting the cubes, getting all these different cards, getting the... So, okay, I'm going too fast again. What is Dungeonology? All right, it's a dungeon crawl, but it's different because you're not fighting anyone. You're just collecting information, which means you're collecting cubes from all these different locations and you're hoping they don't see you. Because if you don't see you, you either don't get the information or you might even drop some, or the boss might come by and you have to face him, which is also not fighting. You can see here the boards, they have these information as well. If you have a certain amount of information, you can go back and hand in your thesis, right? And you also have a board here where you have students that you can recruit through cards and so on. And basically students are cannon fodder because you're a scholar. You have some interns, I guess. And then you can sacrifice them whenever you need it to avoid damage or whatever. And then here is the threat. So as the game goes on, some mega bad red students might come out, which makes it in general much more difficult to gather information because the dungeon's starting to get aware of you guys walking around, right? And if it reaches all the way to the end, there might be a panic mode where everyone's trying to run for the end, for the exit, and hopefully still hand in your thesis to survive. And here is a card, then that card contains the minions of that whole scenario. So basically, you need to be able to get a certain amount of cubes, and then you can take a look at the card and see what the score mitigation is. Because on that card, it will say, for example, oh, if you have a bunch of blue ones, they're all +1. But all your reds are -1 points, of course. So that might also affect the cubes that you're trying to pick up or avoid, and so on. The characters all play very differently, and when somebody is winning, when someone has a star, because you can have multiple stars, I think up to 3 or 4. If you have a star and everybody else is behind you, or at least one person is behind you, the people who are behind, they will all become exalted. So they'll become like enraged, their powers will become stronger. It's kind of like a catch-up mechanism. So that's also cool. Yeah, and the tiles are so beautiful. They come out and everything. Okay, I'm just talking. You're not really... I mean, you see the picture. Maybe it's a bit boring for like this. The sculptures, the minis are super, super beautiful. I have a bunch of videos about it. And like I said, I did get quite a lot of... Well, not a lot. I did get some negative comments about why I am so positive about this game if the company is so bad. Once again, I'm talking purely about gameplay, and I do really like this game. But what some people might not like is, of course, it is kind of a... okay, let's put it like this. You have, I think, 5 or 6 cards in your hand, let's say, and it's somebody else's turn, and they're trying to get a cube, and they need to play a certain amount to avoid detection. Then you and other people can play cards to raise that, to raise the bar they need to cross, otherwise they're detected. So basically you're spending cards on your own cards on your turn to block other people. But then when your turn comes around, you'll have less cards to do it yourself. So basically near the end of the game, if people are close to winning, people are going to try to stop them more. Also, some of these characters have abilities to steal. Well, everybody can steal, but some of them are just better at it. To steal cubes away from other people, or to just be around you, or basically knock you so you drop information that then maybe they can try to pick up on their turn. Things like that. So it's not a very nice game. Friendly game, I should say. But also all the expansions add so much new stuff. And once again, when you play solo, of course, you don't have to worry about all that. And I think I'll be playing this mostly solo. Even you have Game of Thrones stuff and so on. You can see him here. Okay, his name is Fredo. Probably all know he's the Night King. Lara Croft is in there. It's really, yeah, I really enjoy it. So I think I'll just end it there. I really enjoy it. And maybe if the art was completely different, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. That's possible. This is just exactly up my alley. It's just, yeah. I can't explain it. It has a special place in my heart. And maybe also it's because it's the first game where I painted the minis off. This is my first game that I painted the minis off as well. Anyway, that's it. That is Dungeon Lord the Expedition. And that is the end of this video, actually, right? Anything else here? I can just see so many heroes and everything as well. Okay, so that was it. 15 to 11, even though I think in the beginning of the video I said 16 to 11. It's 15 to 11, and I'm going to end this video now. But of course, there's going to be a 10 to 6 coming, and then 5 to 1 will be individual videos. Just talking about one game, one by one. Okay, that's it. I was Joachim, and always will be. Do so many games all the time. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.